Hi, everyone. This is Danielle for Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation. And this week I'm talking about global warming and climate justice. I will be using my own relational summary for this presentation today. So let's begin. So, in this module, Dr. Culhane discussed the global north and how the Earth is warming and how this global warming is degrading our ecology. The ability to rely on seasons, such as using a farmer's almanac, is not possible in our world now. Two things that really made me think about are how our permafrost is melting and the climate injustices that occur not just in the global south but everywhere. I wanted to take the approach of last week and think locally and act globally. So I did want to go ahead and just talk about the awareness of the environment and climate injustices that occur in Tampa. The NAACP works on advocating this issue by explaining how it is a civil rights issue. Just like Dr. Culhane mentions, unlike wealthy individuals who can shield themselves from apocalyptic changes that result from our warming planet, those of us that are unable to avoid these changes are beholden to the ecology of our planet, which is degrading. The ability to rely on a normal is not possible. In fact, the idea that there is a normal or a new normal with global warming is a false narrative. As David Wallace Wells says in The Uninhabitable Earth, it is tempting to look at these streams of disasters and think climate change is here. And one response to seeing things long predicted actually coming to pass is to feel that we have settled into a new era with everything transformed. But what that means is that we have not at all arrived at a new equilibrium. It is more like we've taken one step on the plank off a pirate ship, perhaps because of the exhausting false debate about whether climate change is real. Too many of us have developed a misleading impression that its effects are binary. But global warming is not a yes or a no, nor is it today's weather forever or doomsday tomorrow. It is a function that gets worse over time as long as we continue to produce greenhouse gas. Dr. Culhane points this out as well by saying that there is no certainty, but rather uncertainty. On top of this, the real uncertainty will be if and how societies enact changes to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So we are in this new frame of uncertainty in our planet. And who is affected by environmental and climate injustice? These effects will hit hardest to communities of color and low income areas, and not just the United States, but the whole world. The ability to adapt to a global warming planet is just one of the issues facing these communities. I wanted to look at a combined environmental and climate injustice by where the locations of toxic power plants and incinerators are built. Race is the biggest factor over class in the decision of where toxic facilities are constructed in the U.S. These facilities emit mercury, arsenic, lead, and other contaminants into the water, food, and lungs of communities. Many of these facilities also emit carbon dioxide and methane, which are the number one and number two drivers of climate change. Information provided by the NAACP.org. In 2021, the Tampa Bay Times published an expose on Gopher Resource lead smeltering plant, which was emitting too much lead dust. The company disabled ventilation features that would suck up the dust and were not proactive in fixing any faulty mechanical systems. This left the workers there to coexist in a toxic environment. The Tampa Bay Times says that 8 out of the 10 workers from 2014 to 2018 had enough lead in their blood to put them at risk of increased blood pressure, kidney dysfunction, or cardiovascular. In the past 5 years, at least 14 current and former workers have had heart attacks or strokes. some after working in the most contaminated areas of the plant. The employees working at Gopher are mostly black or immigrants and is located east of downtown Tampa next to an elementary school and rail yard. The employees' families were also affected. At least 16 children have been exposed to lead. The exposure of these employees and their families leads to serious health problems, not to mention the causes that lead dust does to surrounding areas. The risks that these employees, families, and the surrounding area face are unfair. Along with the placement of toxic facilities, the locations of homes also matter. Sonia Berkins, a Tampa resident, talked about the effect of Black and Brown communities living in dangerous areas known as urban islands. Information from WUSF NPR. This means that individuals that live closer to a downtown area lack enough greenery, which results in temperatures rising at least 4 degrees higher. Being around mostly asphalt and concrete means that health issues rise, such as respiratory issues due to trees not being around to filter the oxygen and carbon dioxide. Some parts of downtown Tampa are making efforts to add more plants and trees, but they are in pricey areas, such as Water Street. The second thing that stood out to me this week is how the permafrost is melting. Covering 22% of the Earth, permafrost holds mass storage of CO2 and methane along with bacteria that has been dormant for thousands of years. The thawing of permafrost leads to unstable land. Buildings and pipelines are prone to damage. Scientists knew that in our global warming world that the destiny of the permafrost melting would come, but the levels of melting occurring now was not supposed to happen until 2090. Climate models can only predict so much and should also be a sounding bell again for of another part of the earth that is degrading. In an age of constant news and stories, it is easy to become numb or desensitized to climate disasters. We need to instead vocalize more and contact our local government when these climate disasters and injustices occur. We must think locally and act together. Hopefully, the scenario of how to boil a frog does not play out for humanity. Rather, if enough citizens rally and use their voice to vote, just not nationally but locally, we as a society can jump out of the boiling pot. And that is the conclusion of my Module 5 relational summary. Thank you for so much for again sticking through. This is Danielle signing off.